Hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 29th day of January 2024. Well, 29 reduces to 11, so we have a Master 11 numerology for today, so that's cool. Lots of enlightenment and awakening and higher awareness. It gives that energy for the day, which is nice. You know, it kind of helps give you that extra little support when you're trying to manifest all of that in your life anyway. So the 11, the 22, 33, although not a day of the month, is Christ consciousness. 22 is the cosmic builder, and 11 is the master number for enlightenment and awakening and higher awareness. So one thing I wanted I think I said, God, I think I said last week that Imbolc was at the end of the week, but it's not. It's this week. I work ahead on the blog for everything I write. I'm always a week ahead when I'm working on it. So I never know what day it is. I have to check all the time because I don't know. I try, but I don't know. I guess it's just not important to me. I don't know. But anyway, at least not in terms of just my everyday life. But anyway, we've got Imbolc is the fire festival for the first day of the coming of spring. It marks the time when lambs and foals are born, and it's just basically the halfway point, kind of, not exactly, between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. And it's also known as Candlemas. It could be also called St. Bridget's Day. My maternal grandmother, her name was actually Bridget, and she's from Ireland, and so she was named for her. But anyway, one calendar of mine says Imbolc Eve is Wednesday. But I have it on the post, the forecast I do every week for this next week, or this week rather. We're in this week. I have it for Thursday and Friday, because basically it's through sunset on Friday on the 2nd. So it's the 1st to the 2nd. So however you want to see it. You know, some people won't celebrate it till the weekend. I mean, you know, whatever. But that's kind of the, I don't know if there's an astrological, I'm sure there is. There's probably an astrological time for it. That would be your most accurate as to when it is. But in any event, that's this week. Third quarter moon is also, I think, on Friday. But that's all that's going on, I think, calendar-wise. So let's go ahead and take the runes to get us started here. We'll do the higher self side, the above side, with the Elder Futhark rune. I'll take the last one in my hand. We have Othala. Now, Othala is the 24th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's the very last one. And there was a time when I guess there was a discussion or disagreement that maybe Dagaz should be the last one, given that it's the end of one phase and the beginning of another. But if you look, even if you were to look at it that way, Othala is essentially comprised of Kenaz in all directions, which is the torch or the light of spirit. If you want to bring it into two separate runes, it's comprised of Ingus on the top and Gebo on the bottom, but it's realistically it's all Kenaz. So it's bringing the light of spirit inward and expressing it outward in a balanced fashion. And at the end of your days, you know, in form, that's kind of what you're doing. You're bringing it all together, and you're well, anyway, that's another discussion. But basically, Othala is it's an earth element rune. It reflects sacred space, tradition, inheritance, ancestral heritage, the Akashic record. It's very protective, can be about prosperity, loyalty, security, peace, all of that. But it's basically the fundamental tradition in our lives here. But bringing all that is, if you merge that with the Akashic record, or the greater collective soul awareness, or greater higher consciousness awareness, if you're looking at it that way, it's bringing one into the other, basically. So it's really an as above, so below rune. We end the Elder Futhark with that. In a sense, we come full circle, like we do with the world, with the 21st card of the major arcana. You're looking at the world, same sort of thing, same sort of energy, where we've come through all of this learning that we're doing, that the soul comes in to learn about, and it culminates in Othala. You could look at it that way. But let's take a look at the Geomancy rune for the below side of things, or the physical reality side, or ego side. We'll see if they are... on Thursday of last week, we had Algies and Albus, and so they sort of combined together there and blended well with each other. Oh, well, this is interesting. We have Vaya, which is a new path. Its complement is populous. And so you have the independent path here, the way, the journey. It can also mean being stuck in perception. But then we have populace, its complement, and that would be the follower or the people. But for today anyway, if you're thinking about you could either think about it, this as hanging on to tradition, your sacred space, the loyalty you have with friends and family, the inheritance that you have, and prosperity. But it doesn't have to be that. Maybe a new path is opening for that. It could be that. We'll see with the cards and see where this takes us. That's a really general combination there to have, because Othala is such it's kind of a diverse type of a rune in terms of its interpretation. Whereas, you've really got two things with Vaya: path, way, journey. So something new could be opening here. And especially, though, if you want to think of this from a spiritual standpoint with the 11 numerology for today, maybe some awakening is happening in terms of your spiritual path. I think that we kind of talked about that on Thursday. And also Tuesday, because we had Iwas, which is Monday, which is it's another as above, so below rune, where you're bringing that higher awareness into everything you do. And then Caput Triconus was new beginnings, and so on the threshold of something. And so it just seems like, and it is the first month of the year, and we're getting to the end of it, of course, but all about new beginnings. We think about that the first of the year, during the first month, we're planning maybe for the future, for this next year, coming year, or the next 6 months, or however you do your planning. Some people set budgets during this time for the year, because they're looking at their taxes and kind of trying to see where they're at, and so lots of different busy work that's happening this time of year for people. But I think that there's also we had the 22 numerology for last Monday, with the 22nd day, and now we're in 11 numerology for the 29. I just think that it's hallmarking the necessity to try to think in terms and see the world in terms of higher awareness, instead of being all reactive to everything. It's so, all you have to do is go on social media, and it's one thing after another that's to stoke outrage. They'll have pictures on there that supposedly represent what's happening currently, and it isn't. And it's there to stoke outrage. And so you have to get above all of that and not react to it, because it's not true. They're trying to con you, essentially. And so it's almost like everything you see now on social media, you have to look at it that way. Are they trying to con me today? What is this true? So you have to do your own vetting, if you will. And that's kind of where we are. And in a sense, that's stepping. It's showing the need to step back and take a look at things from a higher perspective. And that's what I think maybe this new path is opening here, where we're really starting to think in terms of that, where we're rejecting the immediacy of what we're seeing, to maybe take a more in-depth look at it, to see, okay, what's really being said here. Well, that's something higher awareness would do. It's certainly not something ego would do. Ego would react all over the place. So that's just one example of it. Not saying this is going to be a reading about social media or anything, but it's just one really tangible, piece of evidence for that, especially unless you're somebody that doesn't go on social media. And then I say, wow, you want to be my mentor, because I don't know, I'm kind of on it. And so I don't know. Well, I just dropped some cards. Hang on. Let's see what they are. That's why I always hate to shuffle after I get on the video, because that's when I drop cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 cards. Ooh, Page of Swords, the 7 of Cups, the World. We were just talking about that. Strength, and the 5 of Pentacles. So we have, let's see what's missing. Cups is missing. But basically, that would be a really good reading of it in and of itself. We'll put that on the bottom of the deck. But anyway, it's Monday and I'm not shuffling very well. I did some shuffling earlier. It's going to have to suffice because my hands aren't working real well today for some reason. But let's get a little closer to the table and take the cards. Well, we have one card from each grouping, if you will. 2 from the major arcana, but 1 from the court. One is an ace, which is kind of cool. And then we have the moon. Let's see. So we have, 18. That's a 9. Ace is a 1, so that's 10. So we have, we have a 1 numerology for the cards themselves. And with Othala, that's a 6. So that's going to be 6 and 1 is 7 total. So again, we have this sense of balance, of letting things come to the rest, to be able to actually understand the bigger picture involved in it with the numerology of 7. And again, I think that's what we were just talking about, of being sure of what you're seeing and experiencing, to make sure that it's not just somebody's agenda that they want you to believe, that it's actually coming from some kind of a higher place where you can see things realistically and consider all reasons for something. That might be another way of looking at it, before simply reacting and judging something. And truly, you stay in your own sacred space, your own sense of Othala when you do that. Let's see, did we have Othala? How long ago did we have that? I feel like I wrote about it. Or maybe it was in probably the forecast, because I know I've had Othala a few times with that. But let's go ahead and start with the moon. Let's start with that, and then we'll move to the Queen of Swords and then the Ace of Pentacles. Let's start with the moon first, though. Here we see a wolf and a dog and a crayfish. A wolf and a dog and a crayfish walk into a bar. No, but basically they're barking at the moon. The crayfish is coming out, not totally out of the water. The crayfish, just like a lobster, they shed their skin, and so there's the idea of renewal, and taking a look at things in that are maybe hidden, because they tend to stay in the water until they're trying to come up on land a little bit, to see what all the noise is about. But you see the dog and the wolf, they sort of represent dark and light. You see a path that winds up between them, starts here and winds up between them to the mountain above there. You also see two towers here. Anytime you see 2 of anything, you're talking about balance or polarity or something like that. But in terms of the moon, you're talking about dreams and emotions and cycles and rebirth and transformation, but you're also talking about illusion and deception. Typically you could look at this as it's signaling there's some deception in your life by someone else, or it could be your own tendency to engage in a little bit of deception with people. And on this 11 numerology day, this Master 11 day, obviously there's just too much energy of awakening there and enlightenment to really uh, fool yourself, basically. So if it's about you and being deceptive with others, well, just know that this is not going to be the day to do that, any way you look at it. But the self-deception that we have within, where we think something is true when it isn't, that could be one way. Another way to look at it, in terms of polarity and balance, balancing the shadow side of self, the receptive side, with the if you can look at it, feminine versus masculine, so receptive versus projective energy within. That type of polarity. It could also be that. And sometimes when those things are not acknowledged, or the balance that's there, if they're not completely in balance, which they never are, there could be a little self-deception that way. But at the same time, I just think that we need to see what the other cards have to say here in terms of this. But generally speaking, although it can mean cycles and rebirth and transformation, especially with the crayfish here, we can look at it that way. But with the Queen of Swords next to it, I don't think so. I think this is either about deception from some outside source that you're dealing with, where people are not telling you the truth about something. And we all have that happen. Where you don't really understand what's going on, but something isn't right. That could be something like that. Or you could absolutely know that somebody is not being honest. And when we come to the Queen of Swords next, that she's demanding honesty from people. Swords is the air element, and so that's going to be about balance and reason and intellect, and again, deception versus truth. And as she beckons the unseen person coming toward her, or beckoning all to come to her, her sword is upright, with the point headed up to heaven instead of down toward physical reality. I tend to look at that, the direction of the sword, as pointing either to truth or to physical reality, which may be, it could be anybody's guess at that point. It's interactions would be reaction, and so that's part of the air element too. Reaction can really get you into a big mess a lot of the time. You see the bird flying above. If there were two, it'd be Hugin and Munin, possibly Odin's ravens, but we'll just say one of them's up there right now. Thought and memory are the two ravens, but you see the darkened clouds around her, with some really dark clouds down here. She's not the person who's going to tolerate any deception. She's going to expect you to tell her the truth, and that's the cool thing about this queen. She doesn't suffer fools. She does not engage in deception with people, and she expects them to do the same with her. And so, if there's some deception going on in your life today, this new path that's opening, where you're demanding light in all directions, basically, especially on this 11 numerology day. Essentially, it's you have to express yourself and demand the truth from people. Demand it from yourself and demand it from others. So if there is indeed somebody in your life that is being deceptive, you need to demand the truth. That's what the card is suggesting. Don't accept anything other than the truth. And at that point, the people or persons in question who is doing this, who's being deceptive, they're just going to have to accept responsibility. They're not going to have a choice in it. That's the thing about the queen. She demands this, and she demands that you accept accountability with things. And so, if you're somebody who is being deceptive with others, if that's what this is saying, then there's going to be somebody who come into your life, possibly an older woman of authority, who's going to demand more from you than that. And you have no choice but to give that to her. Because that's all she's going to accept. At this point, we're done with the deception, we're done with the drama, we're done with all the nonsense, and now it's time to be truthful about something. We have these things happen in our lives all the time, where we know in our hearts, And in our intuition is telling us, higher self is telling us, hey, something isn't right here. Somebody's not telling the truth. Don't really know what the real situation is yet, but I'm not going to stand here and accept any more lies from this person or these people or what have you. Whatever the situation is, not going to do it. And then when that happens, you see, and this may have to do with material security, as Othala does. Othala is also about protection of your physical and material assets, your security, because it's also just like the 10 of Pentacles, it's about transfer of legacy as well. The legacy you pass on to others, and if it's family, then that's likely inheritance. But even if it's not that, it's about who you are, really. Are you the sort of person with integrity? Do you have the integrity of the Queen? Or are you somebody that waits for the light of the moon to be able to, assert yourself in a way that is deceptive and veils what the truth is? The moon tends to veil things. And so you're veiling what the truth really is. You can't be that way. There's no time left for that now. You look at our country, you look at the world, there's so many things happening that are hiding the truth of the situation. And we cannot allow ourselves to be conned anymore. So there's that happening on the grander scale. But in our personal lives, it can happen at any time. A neighbor, a family member, a friend, a coworker, a boss, somebody in your life, a business you deal with has shady business practices, and you finally realize it. And it's like, well, no, we're not doing that today, or I'm going somewhere else, so consequences, right? They have to accept reality that how they've been behaving is not going to keep people coming in the door. I mean, it could be something like that. But here with the Ace of Pentacles, and I love this card, you see a hand reaching out from the clouds, radiating spiritual energy. You see a large coin in the hand. And that's really about the aces are all about new beginnings. And to me, since they hold the weight of the entire suit in this one card, essentially, all energies are here for the suit of Pentacles. That's the earth element. And so that, again, is our Othala. It's our physical reality. It's our inheritance. It's our material security. It's displayed in the Rider-Waite by a large coin. And so, generally speaking, you think money and security, material security, physical security. And here you have a new path opening. You see lilies on either side of the path. You see the hedgerow here and the arch that's grown over it. You see mountains in the distance. But so there's going to be challenges along the way, but you have a new path toward material security. But if you're talking about it in terms of Othala, you may be talking about a path towards a higher vibratory sacred space that you exist within, instead of being caught up in all of the reaction and drama around you. That the path forward doesn't include deception. There's no place for it. There's no place for people trying to get over on other people. And so much of that is going on now, isn't it? And so all of that impacts your material security, the legacy you transfer to others. Is the legacy one of deception? Or are you known to be able to keep your word? Are you known for your integrity? Can people trust what you say? Can people trust that you're not going to be doing things behind the scenes that can affect them? So you get and when you realize that that's happening in your life, as long as you're not the one doing it, as long as that's the case, if you realize someone's doing that to you and been doing it for a while, you get a little outraged at it. It's like, okay, no more, enough, we're done, right? And you're not going to tolerate that type of insult anymore, because that's what it is. It's insulting when people lie to you because they think you're stupid enough to believe it. Or when they keep things from people, they think that people are stupid enough not to notice. So realistically, when you get somebody that acts like that all the time, they have no regard for other people. They really don't. And I think that, the idea of emanating, drawing in spirit and emanating that outward in your life, there's no, you don't vibrate on that level anymore with people. You just don't. And you realize that this is the path. I talked about this last week. I think it was last week, or the week before, where it seems like we're in the middle of this divergence of two timelines or two paths. The one that seems to reflect service to others, which is the higher self side of things, and one that seems to reflect the ego or service to self. And I think that this may be in just another extension of the suggestion that you reject the reactive side and you head down the path of enlightenment and awakening. And ignore the people who talk about the whole woke nonsense, because that's just nonsense. It's like, are you kidding? Do you understand what you're saying? You're saying that we're all just supposed to keep our heads in the sand and follow along without asking questions, without wanting something better in our lives, without wanting everyone to be as we truly are in spirit, which is one, where we're heading down the same path so we can all elevate our awareness together, elevate society together, where everybody benefits. Instead, we have this weird tension of, oh no, let's not be awakened to anything. Well, the readings keep saying otherwise. And today's reading, I think, is important because it's really bringing it down to, the fundamental deception of the moon and veiling what the truth is to a queen that's not going to accept it anymore. And when that happens, a new path of spiritual awareness and spiritual security forms for you. And I think that that's the type of path where you can be enlightened and awakened and aware and proceed along that path, even though, yes, there'll be challenges. You come into it with a pure motive. You see the lilies on either side. You come in with that purity of spirit, and that's the path you take. So interesting for a Monday, huh? On this week of new beginnings with Imbolc. I will be planting some seeds. I said this last week. I'm going to plant a few seeds. I have to decide which ones they are. I might go ahead and, I don't know, I might plant some lettuce that I can just transfer into a pot and grow inside for a while. Or maybe put it out during the day and bring it in at night or something. I don't know. Because temperatures are still pretty low and they're going to continue to be for a while at night. But yesterday, I think we either hit 60 or maybe we got above. I don't know. You just never know now here. The last couple of years, and then I found out that this is why they've moved us into a new. And you should check, if you guys garden, you should check and see where you are. If you're in the northern states where gardening is a little tricky. See where you are in the planting zones, because ours have changed from 5 to either 6 or 6.5. It just depends on where you live here. But we're definitely different because we got a whole bunch of apricots last year, and that's the first time in all the years we've had the trees. I think we got about 50 of them, which I think the year before we got 7. And we've never gotten them ever because the blossoms come out and then we have a hard freeze, and this didn't happen. And the freeze we did have wasn't too hard, and they must have been just at the right place. And so we got all those. We couldn't believe how many we got. I've still got them frozen for smoothies in the freezer in the kitchen. So check all that. But I'm gonna plant some seeds and get a couple things going. But the tender stuff, not yet. They'll just be too big before I can get them outside and in the ground, because most stuff we can't plant until either Memorial Day weekend or the first week in June. So it's not safe here to do it. Otherwise, you're covering, and if it's too big of a frost, even covering doesn't help. So lots of new beginnings this week, and celebrating the return of spring, and although that doesn't really happen until the spring equinox, but still, you start to see signs of it maybe where you are. Not so much here. We see the buds start to form, but I don't think I have any crocuses that come up for a while. They're not doing that yet. Neither the daffodils, neither the hyacinths, none of those things are. It takes usually I don't know, 3 weeks to a month longer. But now I don't know. It's different now. So maybe we'll see some of that happen sooner on the high desert now than we typically do. So anyway, think about this, the idea of, not allowing deception to cloud your vision, either from yourself or from someone else here today, and see how that feels. Just think about it and play it out in your mind and see how it feels to you. And if you're not already doing that, try it and see how that feels, and see if you don't feel a different vibration about yourself, where you start to look at things from a standpoint of the seven numerology of the reading, where you're letting things settle out before you make a decision or make a judgment about what's really happening, trying to gather all the facts before doing that, and so that you can engage in truth instead of maybe someone else's deception. So anyway, thanks for watching. Everything's out on the blog. The forecast for the week, the daily correspondences for Work and Magic, the Exploring Tarot, which I think was the 10 of Wands this time. And then, which you can see that card in a variety of ways. But, and then there's also the astrological cheat sheet of just the major astrological placements for the week. That's all up over at the blog at Stepping Aside. The web address there is imsteppingaside.com. If you forget, click on more below the video, and it's right there. You can scroll down. At the bottom is all the horrible social media sites I'm on. No, they're not horrible. But, well, one of them kind of is. But the rest of them, the new ones that are out, they're a lot of fun. Lots of fun people on there, and lots of people to talk to. And so, check them out if you haven't already. And, if you haven't yet clicked subscribe, I'd love you to do that. If this is your first time here, welcome. Give it a like if you will, and come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.